A twisted fan gift exposes a dark truth. Jungkook is called a parasite in BTS, but when the members speak, even the haters go silent. Even this teddy bear is more useful than you, Jungkook. The auditorium was drenched in golden light, the cheers of hundreds of fans echoing through its glass-lined walls. 7 silhouettes sat under the harsh spotlights, bathed in admiration, or so it seemed. But beneath the surface of the cheers, something else had begun to stir. Something colder, something cruel. Jungkook froze. His fingers still held the pastel purple gift box he'd just unwrapped. The ribbons fell limp at his side, forgotten. Inside the box sat a teddy bear, worn, old, torn wide open from chest to stomach. Its cotton inside spilled like the guts of a battlefield casualty. There was no letter, no card, no smile behind the gift, just silence. And then, laughter rang out from the center section of the crowd. A girl stood up, face half covered by a black mask embroidered with the initials RH. Her voice sliced through the atmosphere with venom disguised as cheer. "You're just a shadow," she said. "A leech living off the talent of 6 stars." Jungkook looked at her, not with anger, not even pain, just stillness. RM shifted beside him, half rising from his chair, lips parted in protest. But Jungkook raised his hand, barely emotion, gentle but heavy with meaning. A signal, let it go, because this wasn't the first time. The stage no longer shines. This fan meeting was supposed to be a celebration. A private event with fans flown in from around the world, held at the sleek Seoul Art Hall and broadcast across 5 countries. Everything was perfect. The lights, the music, the smiles. Until now. Until the teddy bear, torn at the heart like something sacrificed. Behind the scenes, the air turned colder. Jungkook returned to the dressing room last, his steps slow. The box was still in his hands. She crossed the damn line. Jean snapped, tossing a water bottle onto the couch. "You don't just let that slide." "It's just one person," Jungkook murmured. "If we make a scene, we give them power. That's exactly how they win," Taeyong said, voice low, eyes shadowed with restrained rage. Silence followed. A silence not of peace, but of pressure, of words unsaid and wounds reopened. Jungkook didn't tell them how many nights he'd stayed up, reading anonymous posts calling him the weakest link, the pretty face with no voice, the dead weight. And now, someone had delivered that message in a box. Not just any someone. Someone who knew exactly what it would mean. Cracks in the reflection, Jimin placed a hand on Jungkook's shoulder after the incident, gently grounding him in the midst of spiraling thoughts. Suga, quiet as ever, was already coordinating with security. But the damage had been done, not to the image, but to the core. Jungkook had always been the golden magne, the all-rounder, the perfectionist. But perfection is a mask, and masks crack. Later that night, Jungkook found himself alone in the 3rd-floor practice room, surrounded by mirrors. He played back the footage from the fan meeting, frame by frame. He needed to understand that the moment of the laughter. He paused the video, zoomed in. The girl's mask bore a small tattoo just beneath its edge. Faint, but visible now. Hangul script. Sri simpel 오지즈. 누군가 배신했다. Someone has betrayed you. His reflection stared back at him, but it looked different now, colder, angrier. Awake, for the first time, Jungkook spoke aloud, to no one but the room and the echo of himself. "I won't stay quiet anymore. If you're going to bury something," Yoongi muttered, eyes never leaving the screen, "we better make sure it won't claw its way back." The practice room was dim, lit only by a single overhead light that buzzed softly in the silence. Jungkook sat cross-legged on the floor, the torn teddy bear beside him, the pastel gift box now crumpled like a discarded memory. His fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, but from something colder, something quieter. Betrayal. The phrase had clawed its way into his head and refused to let go. Someone has betrayed you. That tattoo under the fan's mask wasn't just a cryptic message. It was a wound torn open. A warning. Someone out there wasn't just watching. They were reaching in. And the teddy bear was only the beginning. That he hadn't told the others about the second message hidden in the stuffing, stitched into the bear's chest like a secret organ. the same words in Hangul, neatly embroidered in black thread. It wasn't random. It wasn't trolling. This was personal, and he didn't know who to trust anymore. He watched the footage over and over. Paused on the girl's face. Memorized the angle of her jaw, the curve of the ink beneath the mask. It wasn't about what she said. It was the way she said it. Like she knew exactly where to stab. Behind him, the door opened with a soft click. Yoongi stepped inside, holding his phone. Security's useless. No ID, no trace in the registry. But I found something. Jungkook looked up, his voice low. Who is she? She wasn't on the list, Yoongi said. But the initials, RH, they match a deleted account from the company's fan club archive. It was purged 3 years ago. Something in Jungkook's chest tightened. Busan Showcase, Yoongi added quietly. You remember it? Jungkook did, vividly. He had nearly been pulled from that show because of a sudden shift in set list. A backup singer removed last minute. A girl escorted out after trying to force her way backstage. He hadn't seen her face then, but now he knew she'd seen his. Yoongi handed him the phone. Frozen on the frame was her face, years younger, but unmistakably the same. In the crowd, staring not at the group, but directly at Jungkook. She's been watching you for a long time, Yoongi said. And then, softer, this isn't just about hate. Jungkook nodded slowly. This is about me. Earlier that day, back at the dorms, tension had bloomed into something volatile. Taeyoon cornered Namjoon in the hallway, voices low but sharp, like blades pressed just beneath the skin. You knew something was off, Taeyoon accused, barely containing the anger in his chest. Why didn't you tell us? I didn't know this was going to happen, Namjoon snapped. I've been trying to shield him. From the company, the press, the fans, don't, Taeyoon cut in. Don't pretend you've been protecting him when you're the one sitting in meetings talking about changes. Namjoon flinched. Silence fell between them like a wall. They think he's distracted, he said eventually. They're saying his vocals are slipping, that he's too emotional, that he doesn't fit the image anymore. Taeyoon stared at him, jaw clenched. He's not just an image. I know that, Namjoon said, voice breaking slightly. But the label, they're already discussing contingency plans. Just in case. If they try to cut him, Taeyoon said, stepping closer, I swear I'll burn the whole thing down. Their eyes met, two leaders, two brothers, divided by silence, bound by the same fear. Losing one of their own. That night, Jungkook sat alone again. This time, he didn't replay the fan meeting footage. He opened a small notebook instead. The cover was bent, pages dog-eared, some ink smudged from water stains, maybe tears. Inside were lyrics, ones he'd never shown anyone. The first page was titled, If I Vanish. He read it aloud, voice barely above the hum of the room. If I vanish, would the silence be cleaner? Would the stars shine brighter? Would they sing louder, now that I'm not in the way? He closed the book, eyes burning. He had always wondered what BTS would look like without him. He wasn't wondering anymore. The knock came just past midnight, soft, deliberate. Jungkook crossed the room and opened the door. A man in a dark hoodie stood there, unfamiliar face, ID badge, slightly askew. Delivery, the man said, offering a box. Same size, same ribbon, no name. Jungkook took it, heart already pounding. When he looked up again, the hallway was empty. He closed the door and placed the box on the table. His fingers hesitated before pulling the ribbon loose. Inside was a microphone. His microphone, snapped in half. Beneath it was a note, typed in plain black font on white paper. Next time, it won't be a teddy bear. The room fell silent. Jungkook stood motionless, hands clenched, knuckles white. This wasn't just a threat to IT, it was a promise. And someone out there had made him the target of a story he didn't write. You think it's hate? The voice whispered through the phone. It's love twisted so tightly it cuts. The box sat unopened for hours. Jungkook didn't touch it again after the first time. The snapped microphone, the cold precision of the note, it all stayed exactly where it had been, like a crime scene frozen in time. The silence in the room was heavy, suffocating, yet he couldn't bring himself to break it. He just stared, not out of fear, but because he was listening. Something about the delivery didn't sit right. The hallway had been empty too fast. Too clean. The way the man walked, too rehearsed. And then there was the other sound. A second set of footsteps. Softer, lighter, like someone had been watching. That was when Jungkook pulled out the notebook again, not to write, but to draw. A habit he'd had since childhood. When the words failed, the pen took over. Lines became shapes, shapes became faces, and faces became memory. The outline he was sketching now, it wasn't the man with the hoodie. It was her, or H.3 floors below, in the company surveillance office. Jung stared at looping footage with red-rimmed eyes. He had been there for hours, piecing together shadow and silence. The delivery hadn't been recorded. Not clearly. The hallway cam had glitched for exactly 12 seconds. The length of time it took for the mystery man to approach Jungkook's door, knock, and disappear. 12 seconds. Jung leaned forward, rewound the clip. There, just before the glitch began, a sliver of a figure. Long hair, a sharp turn of the shoulder, half a silhouette vanishing around the corner. Not the man, a second person. Watching, Jung's gut twisted. He grabbed his phone, called Namjoon. We have a second player. Back at the dorm, Jungkook finally moved. He took the broken microphone from the box and weighed it in his hand. The crack ran clean through the stem, like it had been snapped with intention, not rage. There was no damage to the head. No dents. Just one clean break, a message. He turned the stem over, inspecting the underside. Etched in tiny, jagged lines, barely noticeable, were initials. Not ours. His breath caught. J.S. was a name he hadn't heard in years. Not since pre-debut. Not since training days. Jang Seo-yeon, a former trainee. A ghost. She was talented. Beautiful. Almost guaranteed to debut. Until she disappeared without warning after a showcase in Busan. No one talked about her again in 01, except him. Because he'd been the reason she didn't go on stage that he hadn't meant to. He didn't even know what had happened. One day she was there, laughing beside him during rehearsals. The next, she was gone. Word spread that there'd been a confrontation with management. Rumors of obsession, of instability. Jungkook had buried the memory deep. But now, it was clawing its way out. He left his room without telling anyone, through the quiet dorm, down the elevator, into the night. The city pressed in around him, neon signs buzzing overhead, people passing like ghosts in the dark. He made his way to the old studio, the one no one used anymore. The one he'd trained in with her to. It smelled the same. Dust, wood, sweat, old memories. He stepped inside, and the door clicked shut behind him. He turned fast, but the hallway was empty. Then, from the darkness of the mirror-lined room, a phone on the wall rang old. Analog. The kind that shouldn't even work anymore. It rang once. Twice. A third time. He picked it up. There was no greeting. Just breathing, and then a voice. Soft. Familiar. Do you ever think about me, Jungkook? His blood went cold. Who is this? A pause. Then, the one they erased. For you, Seo-yeon. Silence. Why are you doing this? You were never supposed to shine without me. Click. The line went dead. Jungkook stared at the phone, knuckles white. Behind him, the mirror reflected his silhouette. But in the corner, for a second, another shadow stood. Watching, gone in a blink. Back at the dorms, Jung, Namjoon, and Taeyong gathered in the kitchen. Jimin had gone quiet lately, eyes always on Jungkook, as if bracing for something he couldn't stop. Jung dropped the new footage on the table. The second figure from the hall cam. A clearer still frame now. Not Seo-yeon. Someone else. Younger. Masked. With a scar just beneath the left eye. I ran facial recognition, Jung said. She's been to 5 BTS events in the last year. Different disguises. Always watching Jungkook. She's working with Seo-yeon? Namjoon asked. I don't think she's working for her, Jung replied. I think she's being used by her. Taeyong frowned. Then what's the plan? Jung looked up. They're not trying to hurt him. Not yet. Then what? They're trying to break him. Later that night, Jungkook returned to his room. A note waited on his pillow. Handwritten. Neat. Familiar pen strokes. Do you remember the song we wrote together? The one you promised we'd sing on stage. Beneath it was a USB drive. His hands trembled as he plugged it into his laptop. .1 audio file. He pressed play. Her voice, Seo-yeon's. singing the song they'd written in secret during training. A soft ballad, fragile, heartbreaking, then his own voice layered in, edited from various performances, pieced together phrase by phrase to create a perfect duet. It shouldn't have been possible, but she had made it happen. And at the end of the track, her whisper, "You took my dream, so I'll take yours. You think the world applauds you because you're special?" She hissed through the speaker. They only cheer for the loudest shadow. The duet haunted Jungkook. He listened to it over and over, unable to pull away. Each note a memory, each harmony a wound he hadn't realized was still open. Seo-yeon's voice hadn't aged. It was as if she had kept that part of herself preserved in rage, waiting for this very moment. It was beautiful. It was terrifying that he didn't tell the others. Not yet. Something in him still wanted to protect them, from her, from himself, from the truth. But Jung was already several steps ahead. He tracked the IP that uploaded the file and found a match to an old address, a small, abandoned apartment in Daegu. It used to belong to a former trainee before she was quietly dismissed. They went. Inside, they found the walls covered in BTS posters, faces cut out, eyes scratched, except Jungkook's. His images were circled in red. Lyrics of songs he never remembered sharing were written out in her handwriting. And in the center of the room, a corkboard covered in string and photos. Press events, practice schedules, hotel layouts. "You weren't just a crush," Jung murmured. "You were a blueprint." Taehyung was growing reckless. He started lashing out in rehearsals, snapping at staff, even Namjoon. He couldn't watch Jungkook spiral and do nothing. One night, he cornered the company director and demanded answers about Soyeon, her departure, and why it was all buried. What he got in return was silence and a threat. "If you keep digging," the director said, "you'll make it easier for the board to cut both of you." Back at the dorms, Jimin was the one who finally spoke up. Quietly, carefully. "I remember her." Jungkook turned. "Seo-yeon." Jimin nodded, eyes shadowed. "She wasn't unstable. She was obsessed with you. And management knew. They didn't drop her because she lacked talent. They dropped her because she wouldn't let go. And she hadn't." Then came the incident at the award show that a backup dancer collapsed mid-performance. Poison water bottle. The investigation was swift, but the motive was unclear. Jungkook was the only member who hadn't touched his drink point 2 days later. A package arrived at Big Hit's front desk. Inside, a rehearsal photo of Jungkook from years ago, ripped down the center, and another note. "If you won't fall, I'll make everyone around you do it first." Namjoon couldn't keep the company at bay. The board had started grooming a new trainee group, already whispering about replacing members. Taehyung threatened to go public. Jung pushed deeper into the investigation and found a hidden forum, active under a fake name, Silent Ursuros. The posts were obsessive, intelligent, dangerous, and the most recent one, a countdown. "It was never supposed to be you," she whispered as the spotlight flickered out. "You took my life and wore it like it was your own." The countdown hit 0 on the night of BTS's anniversary concert. The world was watching, stadium packed, live broadcast set to millions. But behind the curtain, chaos was unraveling. Jungkook had found the final piece just hours before going on stage, a hard drive mailed to his mother's house. Inside it, old footage, CCTV from the trainee dorms years ago. It showed Seo-yeon arguing with a manager, begging not to be removed. Then, later, Jungkook and Seo-yeon on a rooftop. Her reaching for his hand, him pulling away, her breaking. The file was labeled, "You chose to forget that IT wasn't the company who buried her." It was him. T told him she was unstable. T remembered now. Not the full truth, but enough. That night, the stage lights glitched. The first note of their opening song never came. Instead, the giant screen lit up with a duet. Their duet. Seo-yeon's voice poured over the stadium like a ghost singing to a grave. The crowd froze. The members looked around, confused. Then the video changed. Clips of Jungkook. Edited interviews. Voiceovers twisted out of context. "You're nothing without them," one line repeated. "You were never supposed to be here," said another. "I took someone's dream." Security moved fast. cutting the feed, but the damage had landed in the dressing room. The silence was deafening. Jungkook stood in front of the mirror, makeup smeared, shirt half-buttoned. He stared at his own reflection like it was a mask. "She's not just trying to ruin me," he said finally. "She wants me to admit she was better." Taehyung stepped forward. "She wasn't better. She was broken. And you didn't break her. They did." "No, Jungkook whispered. I let them." Yoongi tossed the ruined hard drive on the table. "She's not done. She's waiting for the fall." Namjoon said what none of them wanted to. "Then we give her one." That night, Jungkook went live. Not through the label. Not through management. Just his own phone, no filter. He told the truth. About Seo-yeon. About the obsession. About the guilt he'd buried. "I was afraid that if I told you who I used to be," he said, "you'd stop loving who I am now." The silence after his words went viral. But something else happened too. Seo-yeon posted, for the first time, a video. Just her in a mask. No voiceover. Tears in her eyes. "You finally saw me," she said. "But it's too late." "You don't understand," Seo-yeon said, standing center stage, spotlight framing her like a ghost resurrected. "I didn't want to hurt you. I wanted you to feel it." The private showcase was off the books. No press. No cameras. Just the 7 members and her. Yoongi had arranged it. A neutral space. An empty rehearsal hall they once used during their earliest days as trainees. Floors scuffed by years of sweat. Mirrors lined with faint handprints of ambition. So-yeon agreed to meet them only under one condition. Jungkook would come alone. But he didn't. Not entirely. Namjoon waited just outside. Taehyung paced like a wolf. Jimin watched the monitors. Hoseok stood by the exit. And Yoongi watched her. She stood on the stage, barefoot, arms crossed tightly around herself. The years had changed her, but the rage in her eyes remained frozen in time. "I used to sing here too," she said. Jungkook stayed quiet, just watching her. He didn't see the villain anymore. He saw the version of her he used to laugh with between vocal runs. The girl who whispered dreams into late-night ramen steam. "Why now?" he asked. Her lips trembled. "Because every year I watched you rise higher. And every year I felt myself disappear." "You think I didn't suffer?" he said. "You think being called a parasite, talentless, a burden, none of that touched me?" "That was after you made it," she said flatly. "I didn't even get the chance." Behind the glass, the others listened. Every word scraped against old memories. Yoongi whispered to Namjoon, "She's not here for revenge anymore." Namjoon nodded slowly. "She's here for closure." Seo-yeon reached in her coat and pulled out a notebook. Their notebook, the one they used to write lyrics in together. She flipped it open to a page titled Encore, a song they never finished. "I want to sing this with you," she said, voice shaking. "Once. Just once." Jungkook stared. "Why?" he asked. Her voice cracked. "So I can finally let go." He nodded. They sang it. Just their voices, no mic, no instruments. 2 melodies unraveling years of silence. She cried halfway through, voice cracking. He caught her faltering line and finished it. And when the final note echoed into silence, she smiled. For the first time in years. Afterward, Seo-yeon stepped down from the stage. She looked at the others through the glass, gave a nod, and then she left in press. No cameras, no headlines, just one last performance no one else would ever hear. But the story wasn't done. That night, a fan posted a thread, screenshots, messages, timelines. It exposed Silent_Rose as more than just Seo-yeon. There had been others, fans who felt they'd been betrayed by BTS changing, who wanted the old version, who believed Jungkook was the cause of it all. And they weren't done, because in 24 hours, BTS was scheduled to perform at their largest stadium concert yet, and threats were already rolling in. "This time, we go out there for us," Jungkook said quietly, lacing his fingers with a mic. "Not to prove we deserve this, but because we know we do." The stadium pulsed like a living heart. 90,000 fans. Billions watching from home. The final concert of the tour, set to be their biggest, boldest, loudest yet. But backstage, the air was brittle. Tense. The threats weren't just idle words this time. Yoongi had traced several burner accounts linked to the same dark network as Silent_Rose, a fractured fandom cult, convinced that Jungkook had poisoned BTS, that the group had lost its soul because of him. And tonight, they planned to make a statement. Namjoon read the intelligence report in silence. Snipers were on standby. Bomb sweeps had been done twice. Still, the risk was there. We can cancel, he said to the group. Postpone. No, Jungkook said. His voice was calm. I won't hide again. Minutes before the show, Jungkook stood alone in the green room that he wore the original mic. The one they'd found broken in the fan box, now repaired and gleaming. A symbol, not a threat. The crew had wanted to swap it for a newer model, but he'd refused. If I'm going out, he had said, it's with the one they tried to silence me with. The show began like any other. Explosive, beautiful, but halfway through, during Jungkook's solo, the power flickered. For a second, the music died. The crowd murmured, and then, from the screens, an image that a single frame, Jungkook alone. Young, afraid, overlaid with the words, you stole everything. Panic started to ripple. Taehyung moved toward him, but Jungkook lifted a hand. Let me finish this, he said in the mic. The music kicked back in. This time, not from the system, but from Jungkook himself, that he began to sing. Not the set list, but Encore, the unreleased song he and Seo-yeon had written. Raw, unfinished, a confession disguised as melody. And then, the stadium changed, voices joined him. Fans who knew the leaked version. Then Taehyung, then Jimin. One by one, the members stepped forward in choreography. No lights, just voices, human, flawed. Real.by the final chorus, the threats felt like ghosts. Powerless against 90,000 people singing not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Security detained one masked person in the pit. A woman with a small device, never triggered. She said nothing, just cried. After the show, Jungkook stood beneath the stage scaffolding, sweat mixing with tears. Namjoon walked up behind him. You did it. No, Jungkook said. We did. He looked up at the stars, lights still dancing across the sky. I used to think I was the weakest part of BTS. And now? Namjoon asked. He smiled. Now I know. I was the piece that survived everything. A private room, dimly lit, that's Seo-yeon watching the live performance on her old laptop. She wipes a tear, closes the screen, and finally lets go. They not all ghosts haunt to hurt. Some just need to be heard before they fade.